Hello and welcome to Insiders, a podcast all about the world of television with me, Peter Fincham.
And me, Jimmy Mulville.
This is the podcast of people who love TV and who want to know a bit more about what goes on behind the scenes. Jim, did you see, it's a story, I think it was in the Times, that the government is open to the idea of a BBC Channel 4 merger?
Interesting idea.
Quite interesting, isn't it? It's not a completely new idea, but it's not one you'd expect the government to have a view on, although you could also say the Channel 4 is owned by the Treasury, which is part of the government, and obviously BBC is funded by the licence fee, publicly owned, publicly funded.
They're both non-for-profit.
So the government could just do this, couldn't they? Or have they got the power to do it?
Yeah, and also, if you think that Channel 4 could sit quite happily in that little nest of channels that are branded UK TV, which BBC Studios owns.
That's true.
So you could actually put them in there as a young, skewing network.
Yeah, kind of thinking something distinctive disappears at that point, doesn't it?
Well,
I mean, Channel 4 as we understand it.
Yes, how do we understand it?
I mean, years ago, there was the notion of a 4-5 merger, which I think was when Mark Thompson was the chief executive of Channel 4. I think he was quite keen on it. But I thought that was a bad idea because Channel 4's distinctiveness would have disappeared in common ownership with 5 commercially owned channel owned by ultimately Bertelsmann, I think.
Or maybe you merge Channel 4 and BBC 3 in terms of their kind of back office, if you like, because they're serving a similar audience.
Well, I mean, one aspect of the back office, of course, is the ad sales side of it, where you know ads. You don't need a different ad sales team for every broadcaster. People can sell bundles of broadcasting advertising together.
I think that happens in other countries as well.
Well, it happens in the UK, but I mean, as long as you don't go as far as getting an advertising monopoly, which gives you another problem. Although the idea of an advertising monopoly within television is in a sense an out-of-date idea because television itself is in competition with the internet for the same advertising.
Yeah, and they're losing the competition. So and often they release these things, don't they, to kind of test the water.
To test the water.
And sources at the DCMS have said, according to the Times, that ministers would stop regulators from trying to block any future deal between the BBC and Channel 4.
So that's one story that's out there. We got a very entertaining guest coming up.
Yes, we
on the show, but a couple of other stories that are coming up there. Oh, this is a story that
explain this because I don't understand rugby.
Well, I like rugby, and I was brought up on rugby.
Of course you were.
We don't need to go into the reasons for this.
Oh.
So when I was at ITV, it was a great pleasure to me that we had the Rugby World Cup rights.
Yes,
and I could go to all the rugby.
Did you go?
I did go. I once took a group of people to an England versus Wales rugby game at Twickenham, and among the people that I invited, it's going to seem a bit obvious, was Tom Jones.
Is he Welsh?
I think he might be. And Tom Jones turned up, and he was probably in his early 70s.
All right.
And he turned up with this. But he had presence. I mean, he has presence, I'm sure.
He's a big star, Tom.
He's a big star, Tom.
Tom
You
the voice.
did not doubt that, a big major star had walked into the room. And he had with him this sort of little old man who didn't have quite the same charisma at all, sort of shuffled into the room behind him.
Right.
It was his son. Really? So his son looked like an old man, but he hadn't quite got whatever Tom had.
Well, obviously, Tom had his son's stem cells.
You've either got it or
he was draining his son at night to revive his
early in the second half, if you're really interested. I don't think you are.
Yeah, I'm feigning interest, though, aren't I? Look, I'm looking at you.
Not very well. Early in the second half, England went ahead.
Yeah,
and it was like sort of 22-15, which would be a typical rugby score.
Yeah.
I know you think that's very odd, being a football fan. So let's say 2015. So Tom left. He left because he said, I'm going to go now, boyo.
Okay, here we go. Peter's going to do his accent. Guess which country he's in now, folks.
Okay. I'm going to just do it in plain English accent.
Reykjavik.
He said, thank you for inviting me, Peter. That was very kind of you. I've greatly enjoyed the match, but I'm going to go now because it's obvious that Wales are going to lose, and I don't want to be walking through the crowds at the end with people shouting out at me, "Hey, what do you think of that, Tom?" or whatever.
Yeah, you
I
Welsh
thought that
twat.
was entirely reasonable. He left literally within 5 minutes. Wales had scored 2 tries and they won the game. Poor old Tom. Poor old Tom. But why?
I never
why
thought we'd
are
be talking about
even-
Tom Jones at a rugby match on this TV
Poor Tom.
podcast.
Poor Tom's a quote from King Lear.
Let's get to the story.
So the
We got somebody here who's suffering from a well-known disease called anecdotitis. I myself am a sufferer.
I've caught it from you, Jimmy.
caught it from
I've never told an anecdote in my life.
You should wear a
until I started
mask.
working
You should
with
wear a mask on these podcasts.
So yes, this is the news. We're finally getting to the point of the story.
Okay.
That ITV are planning to smuggle an ad break in while a scrum is, while they're preparing for a scrum. Now, actually, if you're a regular watcher of rugby, you'll know there is no more boring part to a rugby match.
How
than
long
when
do they take? About a minute?
Well, the referee blows up for a scrum. Then
Yeah.
there's an awful lot of shuffling around. They get into their packs.
Yeah.
They have to do a thing called binding and setting.
Quite homoerotic, isn't it, really?
So there is
A lot of
certainly
a lot of cuddling going on.
there is time to smuggle in an ad break. I do get that. And yet somehow you feel, I mean, and of course they're a commercial broadcaster, they will be looking for all opportunities to make money they can. You somehow feel rugby fans are not going to like this very much.
Well, it depends what you're
I
advertising.
mean, it'd be, the equivalent of football, so
Breath
that you
freshener.
can understand it. The equivalent of football would be the referee blows a
Oh,
whistle for a
VAR.
penalty. Let's say for a penalty.
But Peter VAR takes
Yeah.
3 minutes. You could
Yeah, and while
show a micro
well,
drama
let's
in
just
that.
stick with the penalty. So while all the players are
Yeah.
the players on
Yeah.
the defending team are protesting, the other ones are deciding who's going to shoot it. All that faffing is going on. Imagine if they went to an ad break. At that
Well,
point.
in NFL they do it all the time because
Do
there are
they?
so many
Okay.
breaks. There are timeouts. There's when they stop for a kick. I
Yeah.
mean, it's stop, start, stop, start.
I
And
mean,
they cut
cricket,
away.
which I don't think you watch. Cricket, you could basically get an ad break in between.
Well, they do sometimes.
every
don't they?
ball.
When
I mean,
someone's out.
they do always go to. I find it very frustrating.
So
to
in
go
the
to an ad
Ashes,
break.
they were showing ads every two minutes when England were in.
You have been watching cricket,
I'm
but
a
this
cricket
is
fan.
an innovation, and it's had a certain amount of publicity. And I mean, often with innovations of this sort, there'll be a bit of a fuss. There'll be some, people writing the Daily Telegraph, sort of old colonels saying this is outrageous, and then after a while you get used to it, and then they think, why don't we do it years ago?
Yeah.
Is that a
I
fair
think so. In
summary?
50 years' time, they'll be harking back to the good old days of the ads in the scrums. So, as Peter said, we've got a very special guest coming today, and it's somebody I know. She is now currently the head of Factual at Plum Pictures, a company that I have an association with. She is a brilliant producer. Her name is Gill Wilson. She's done both sides of the fence. She's been a commissioning editor at Channel 4, where she was head of daytime and features, working under the great Jay Hunt. And she's also set up her own independent production company with Liz Warner called Betty. She has done everything in this business. And finally, she's doing this podcast. So, after that, we're just giving you a big intro.
I love that.
And we just said how brilliant you are.
Oh, I love that for me.
I've got to know you a bit since you joined Plum.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to get this story out of the way before we start, right? Because it's a story against me. But Jill, you had this brilliant idea of doing a show called Love Letter to Lime Street.
I did.
Tell us about that.
Well, it was called Ticket to Ride.
Yeah, Ticket to Ride, yeah.
Ticket to Ride, Love Letter to Lime Street. And, it's hard to tell, I know, but Jimmy and I are both from Liverpool. It's a small little place in the north.
Peter's feeling uncomfortable already.
Yeah. How are you, Peter? I'll keep
He's
an
got
eye
his hand
you.
on his wallet.
I've never actually been outnumbered in quite such stark terms.
I'm obsessed with Liverpool Lime Street, and nothing that ever happens there is dull or boring. And
So
so
you're obsessed with the railway station, Liverpool Lime
Yes, but
Street.
find out why.
yeah, because you
I've been
go
there many
to
times.
what
Quite
and
boring, isn't it?
have you never seen Simon Rimmer from Saturday Kitchen being chased up a platform by a headlight shouting, "Rimmer, what are you doing?" Or a stag night where someone's just been cling filmed to one of the seats. Never. No, you
Great
prob-
television, Peter.
It's great
I've led a
television.
very sheltered life.
Oh, I love it, and it's never a dull
And you've
moment.
been trying for a while to get it off.
2 years, Jimmy. I think you'll find it was 2 years.
And they didn't reply. So who didn't reply?
So, no, I got sort of some vague, spurious feedback from Network Rail and some kind of even more spurious feedback from Avanti.
So I spoke to Jill about it. She said, well, I've got nowhere with it. And I said, well, why don't I contact the people in the council because
You did.
I'm working with the Liverpool Council, but trying to get this school open for people who want to get into our industry in Liverpool.
Have you heard about this school, Jill?
She's going to help.
Jimmy does quite a lot for charity, but he doesn't like to talk about it. But
No.
He does mention
It's
the
not
school
charity. I'm going to
from
make a
time
lot
to
of money out of
time.
this. No.
The best kind of charity.
So I spoke to them, and you got an email from them.
Jimmy did that brilliant thing that Jimmy is unique at doing, which is open the door. Right. So I said, okay. So I ran straight through it, and I got the people from Avanti and Network Rail on the call. And they basically got on to say, no, you're all right. We have a lot of requests to do those sorts of things. And then I pushed and I pulled and I wiggled and I jiggled, and I kind of said, honestly, it would be fantastic for the city. And I genuinely, my mother lives there. She will have me hung, drawn and quartered and pulled through the streets. She'll separate me from my breath if I say anything bad about Liverpool. And they said, you know what? Come on then. We'll have a go.
So hang on, has this happened or is this
Well-
going up?
Well, Jimmy, see me after class, because in the interim between them saying yes and now, Jimmy had done a little interview with the Daily Telegraph in which he had described Avanti as shit.
Oh,
Peter.
yeah.
That's the word.
You mean he told the truth to the Telegraph?
Yeah. And this didn't go to
Always
the
a very
bottom.
dangerous thing to do.
It was a dangerous thing to do. And guess what popped into the press cuttings of the Avanti Communications office that day, Peter? Yes. So the email I got from the man saying, we were absolutely going to let you in and start filming in July. And I do believe your
locked it?
boss then went and called us shit.
I mean, it's unlike me to speak without thinking. As Owen will tell you, he's off the beta blockers now.
Yeah,
He's now on heroin.
he's moved straight to the
But
is
so
a
I'm here.
technical delay.
I'm here to publicly apologise, Jill, for putting a spoke in there.
Jill, can I say what you and I have got in common?
Yes,
because,
please.
Because I accept that I'm not from Liverpool and feel a bit excluded.
Please
But
do.
I want to make Jimmy
Don't
feel
even
a bit
try the
excluded.
accent, by the way.
You and I have both worked both on the commissioning side and on the
have.
production side.
We have been poacher, turn gatekeeper, turn poacher again.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And what's the difference?
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge, the difference. Would you say that, Peter?
Yeah, it's different, but not in the ways you might always
Yeah.
assume it's different. So
Yeah.
I think if you're a producer, you think as a commissioner, I don't want to say you think it's easy, but all you got to choose. You got to choose. And that is true to a degree, but as a commissioner, you feel very exposed when you make choices. You say, I'm going to commission that program rather than that one.
Yeah.
And if that program doesn't work, you feel it's got your fingerprints all over it. And so I think, and we're probably in quite a small minority here, wouldn't it be great if more people could have an opportunity to work on both sides of the fence at some point in their career, because you naturally then empathise with people on the other side of the fence. And when I joined the commissioning side, I had commissioning colleagues who I quite quickly realised, you've never been a producer, have you? You don't really get it. You don't understand it from their point of view.
Yeah.
And of course, if you've only been a producer, such as, the other person here in this conversation,
I feel very left out at this point.
you can sometimes have quite a sort of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. It high-handed or critical, or you can
Belligerent.
characterise commissioners in ways that you wouldn't do if you became a commissioner.
Well, I read that you had discovered something about the percentage of no's that the commissioning team were making.
Yeah, I mean,
quite high.
I think there's the two things that I really, to Peter's point, a lot of commissioners, if they haven't worked in television, but producers don't understand that it's a miracle if anything gets on the telly.
Yeah.
It's a miracle if anything makes it from the page onto the screen. It is nothing short of it's taken someone's life there somewhere. It's considerably shortened someone's life there. And as a commissioner, I did a proper piece of work actually, rather than back of a fag packet. I worked out that 97% of ideas given to a commissioner will be turned down.
And this is when you were running daytime and features at Channel 4.
Yes, so I ran the whole of what is now Lifestyle at Channel 4. And then Jay Hunt said to me, by the way, darling, you now do daytime. And I said, okay, smashing. And a good percentage of more for. And I was like, okay. And so just did that.
She phrased it in a way you couldn't say no.
Yeah.
That's unlike Jay.
Tell
isn't
us a bit about working with Jay, because Jay is a big figure in the industry.
Yes.
Strong character.
Yes.
Brilliant. You know, first time I met Jay I've never met anybody who speaks in such perfectly formed sentences, including kind of, parentheses and colons or whatever. There's no umming and erring in a J sentence.
I think they based AI on her.
The thing is with Jay, she talks, both know, Jay talks incredibly quickly.
Yes.
And I talk really quickly.
If you listen to a radio ad, sometimes at the end it's something to do with mortgages and what it said. We need to let you know that your home will be at risk if you don't pay up your mortgage. Blah 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 blah. This has all been regulated by the. That's Jay Hunt.
Absolutely. So Jay would be in a meeting. I would then go into a meeting to, we have our routines and we'd be pitching up and down. So then I'd start talking incredibly quickly, and then basically people couldn't listen as fast as we talked. Genuinely. And she said, we've got to stop this at some point. It's kind of wicked. So working for Jay it's 9 years. And it's the equivalent of a flight to Australia. Nothing will be that difficult again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it makes you battle hard.
Yeah.
Like I am...
Challenging.
So challenging, and people do their best work for Jay. I think a lot of the time.
She's amazing at getting back to you. Whenever I send her something or an email or something, I get an email back almost before I've finished the email.
Yeah.
I mean, and
saying no. She gives you the fastest no's in the industry,
which is great because it's quick no.
Quick no
is our second favourite answer, isn't it?
She absolutely can see the whole industry in 3D. That's what I think about Jay. Is she can do the micro, the macro. She sees the whole picture. I can see it kind of framed in her mind at any one time.
Some would say, Jill, that she would make a good Director General of the BBC.
Yeah. What do you think, Peter?
No, you can't. We're
It's your podcast.
You're our guest.
We're
asking the questions. You're giving us the answers.
Yeah, I mean, right. Firstly, I think she'd make a brilliant Director General of the BBC because someone needs to stand up for it, right? So someone needs to have...
She would definitely do that.
And she would stand up for it. Now, Jay's a polarising figure. Okay, show me a genius who isn't. Show me someone who's brilliant who isn't.
I like that.
Yeah. Apart from Tim Hinks is the only person in the entire industry who isn't a polarising figure. Everyone loves Tim, right?
Yeah. So say that Jimmy and I are polarising figures.
Oh yeah.
No,
people think you're awful.
He is. He likes the. He sort of slightly revels in it.
No, I always think that when someone says, "Oh, so and so said," I met so and so the other day. Oh my God, they had a few things to say about you, and I check out who was it, and they name them and go, "Oh, thank God for that. I'm glad he doesn't like me."
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because if everyone likes you, you're not doing it right.
You're not doing it right. I think she'd make a brilliant Director General, because she is whip smart. She's always been able to... I've watched her buy and sell Theresa May effortlessly. She's a brilliant politician. She's brilliantly able to manage... when we were at Channel 4, she was like, we are too left-wing. If someone had voted Brexit in this building, they could never say it. And you shouldn't be in a position where you can't say it. You should be able to have a robust conversation.
Otherwise, you're in a totalitarian state. Yeah.
So, and she genuinely does have a 360-degree thing. But the BBC does need someone to fight for it. It needs someone who's not agnostic about its future. It needs someone to fight for it, and she'd do that.
So, we've had a couple of guests on, and we talked to them about, what's happening now. But I'm always intrigued about how people get into the business.
Okay. So I was in a pub in Liverpool and my mate, what other Scouser, Simon O'Brien, wafts over. I'm in the Cobden in Walton. Wafts over and he goes, look, I'm working on this football programme.
Okay.
And he said, they need a girl who knows anything about football. And this is pre-Peter Ladettes and this pre-Sarah Cox, pre-Zoe Ball.
What year is this, roughly?
Oh, God, and this is 92.
Okay.
Right? They need a girl who knows something about football. BBC, standing room only, BBC 2. He was presenting it at the time. He said, they can't find a girl. He said, I think it's like a human resources thing that they need to get a girl. And so I said, he said, should write to them. So I went, okay, I'll write to them. So I wrote best CV and that, saying that, I'd worked in a bar. And it hit someone's desk at BBC Manchester and they think for some reason, God only knows why, that I know Alan Yentop. Like, how do I know
Jill, to be fair, everybody knew Alan Yentop.
Did you say you knew Alan Yentop?
Completely credible. Had you said, Alan's a friend of mine, nobody would have doubted it.
Peter, I had no freaking idea who Alan Yentop was. Not in a million years.
No, that is a worry.
So they agreed to see me. So this is 1992. They agreed to see me.
So once you got that job, you were in?
I was in.
When did you eventually come to London then? What forced you to the south?
Obviously a man. Obviously a man. But on the way, so I became one of the the first camera operators who, it was terrible at the time because Granada wouldn't.
You brought your photos of yourself
I'm
along.
a self-cleaning
So
oven.
those
Peter,
who are listening to this podcast rather than watching, Jill has just produced some holiday snaps.
I have. I'm a self-cleaning oven in terms of being a producer. Peter, I've brought my own props.
She has.
So
We're
I
on
thought I
set.
would show you the early years of
Let's have a look.
television.
Oh, brilliant.
I mean, you won't recognise this girl, but it was her first job. I wonder whatever happened to her.
All right. So who is that? That is
Claudia.
Claudia
That's
Winkleman.
Claudia.
Because you discovered
Hang on,
Claudia.
hang on, let me have
this is
another.
this is our big reveal in the show, Peter.
Yeah.
Don't fuck it up. It's you discovered.
We'll edit that out. Jimmy telling me not to fuck it up. It's a weekly occurrence. But believe me, it never makes the edit.
So Claude and I did this show called Pajama Party,
Oh.
which was Andy Harris, right? He was going, Spencer, we're going to put pajamas on.
We had him in the back of our podcast.
This sounds like Exhibit A in the court case. Go on.
Yeah, it does. So it was Katie Puckrick, a lot of girls in pajamas, and me.
And Andy Harris.
And Andy Harris and Spencer Campbell. I mean, honestly,
Okay.
we buggered about on this show called Pajama Party, and it was just me and Claude would go off and do the VTs.
Right.
Armed with a
Hang on, were you in front of the camera at this stage?
No, I was
you're behind the
filming-
camera. She's in front.
She's in front of the
Yeah.
camera.
Okay.
So she's never done any telly. I've done football shows, right?
Yeah.
So there's the two of us legging it around. I've got a camera bag, and in the camera bag is obviously the camera,
Yeah.
3 or 4 Moscow mules, right?
Of course.
And when we were on the way back and a bit hungover, Burger King chicken supremes, obviously.
Nice.
So we just did what we wanted, right? So we said, right, let's go and be paparazzi. So it was like the Brit Awards or something. So she's got a paparazzi camera shouting, Ronan, turn round. No. So she's her first shot. Ronan, turn round. That felt right. Anyway, we blag our way in, obviously. And then Claudia Winkleman and I had the great honour of being unceremoniously kicked out of Peter Andre's VIP area of the press.
It really is a proud claim, isn't it?
It was a big pinch me moment.
Peter Andre
Picked us
VIP.
up. Yeah.
If that's not an oxymoron, this is when you're in London.
No, this was all in BBC. That was in
Before.
Granada.
We are going through Jill's
Oh,
career
don't,
in real
it's
time,
too
Jimmy.
embarrassing.
Come on, don't rush ahead.
Okay.
Don't rush ahead.
Embarrassing.
Let's do it month by month.
I want to get to the
it.
bit where you set up your own independent production company.
Oh, Liz Warner.
Yes, I think we should get ahead of that, and we need to talk about the, state of the industry and
industry.
shit like that. When you look back in the 90s,
Yeah.
and people obviously do look back in the 90s.
Well, because it's in the past, Peter. So
I know. They sometimes look at things that television programs were made then and commissioned
Yes,
then, and think,
yeah.
how did they ever commission that? I mean, we, for instance, at Exploitation, we made a series a couple of years ago called. So it was based on a show called "There's Something About Miriam."
Oh,
Do you
yeah,
remember the show?
I do, absolutely.
Yeah, and so it's a show that was made in the 90s, and so somebody commissioned it, somebody produced it, somebody thought it was a good idea, somebody came up with the idea, and it's this thing about a bunch of blokes falling in love with somebody who they believe is a woman, and
It's a
turns
lady,
out
yeah.
not. And so you look at it through a modern lens, and you think, how on earth
Yeah.
did television ever think that was an appropriate form of entertainment in the 90s? Do you find that as you look back at the 90s? And also I'm kind of pulling it forward to the modern age. I know when you were at Channel 4, you were responsible, I think, for bringing Married at First Sight
Yes.
onto the screen.
Yes.
And again, this is a show that goes, goes somewhere that many people will be surprised to see reality programming
Yes.
going.
Yes.
I'm fascinated to know, do you think the world is different now, or that we look at the world through a different lens? And do you think we've lost something or gained something?
It's an interesting question. We made, with lovely Tim Hinks, we created a show
he's your
called...
partner, Peter.
He's the person who's the
He's
unpolarising.
suffers through amnesia when it comes to some of the worst things that Endemol made in the 90s.
Well,
He suddenly wasn't in the room at the
But
time.
we're like doctors, we bury our mistakes. I've told you before.
Anyway, what was one you made with lovely Tim Hinks?
Snog, Marry, Avoid.
That was his idea.
It was,
or was
not
it?
his idea.
He says it was his
no,
idea.
actually, so...
Well, success has many parents.
And orphans is it for failure? Well, no, actually, it was his. He came and said, "Look, here's this concept," and then actually, it was
Well, that does sort of make it his idea.
So his idea was to make Under Some Girls. It ended up being a show which had a talking computer. But that was called, I mean, literally the Times said, like, this is the downfall of human civilization.
The end of civilization.
Yeah, honestly. You know, so
Yeah.
have we lost or have we gained? I think it's an equilibrium. I think what is shocking to one generation isn't shocking to another. I think that in terms of carefree times, money are more a constraint necessarily than morality. So I think that if budgets were greater, I think more chances are being taken on the internet, which means that less
I think the way
moral choices are being made in the mainstream.
In what we broadly call reality television,
Yes.
the way we treat people who agree to be part of it,
Yes.
whether you're talking about a dating show
Yes.
or a talent show, has changed, and that's all for the better. In other words,
Yes.
the duty of care,
much better.
and I think it's fair to say there's a sort of Wild West era, and I'm not particularly pointing a finger at Endemol or anywhere in particular, where duty of care to contestants and to contributors was not high on the list.
Yes.
And it is much more now. We wouldn't want to go back to those days.
No,
would we?
absolutely
kind of
not. Absolutely.
exploitation.
But I think there was also a kind of, there were people we wouldn't, duty of care is inherent in a lot of producers. So in terms of, we made a lot of shows.
That's called being a human being, isn't it?
Yeah, but
really?
some people don't care.
I know.
There's a lot of documentary makers who would say you need to seduce to betray.
Yeah.
You know, but you've got to get people to tell you their story so that then you can.
And then you let them
But
know.
then they would defend that in pursuit of something quite different to the sort of television you're describing. They defend that in relation to serious documentary making.
It depends on your definition of documentary.
Sure.
Tell me about, though, when you started Betty,
Yes.
you did a show very much in this area, which was very delicately done.
Yes.
Which was your first big... Was it your first big hit with...
Joy of Teen Sex.
Joy of Teen Sex. But am I wrong in saying you did on the Undateable?
No, Undateables, yes. So the Undateables was a little bit after my time, but it was very much in the Betty ethos. I mean, Betty, Liz and I started it. We rented a room off Brian Hill from Century Films, a brilliant documentary maker, 75 quid a week. And Betty...
Not a very good landlord, though.
He was a terrible landlord, but he's a lovely man.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Undateables is, was in that brilliant tradition of, and several have been done since, which is that you have to occasionally bring people in on a title which is it belies its content.
I think that you're right, is that trying to get the attention now of the audience is getting more and more difficult because there's just more choice, isn't it?
There is, but it is a really tricky thing to do to then not. I have a profoundly autistic son, and we started the show for Channel 4 called How Autistic Are You? You're autism's like being pregnant. You either are or you aren't.
Yeah.
Oh, the autistic community didn't like it. They weren't happy. It's fair to say they weren't happy. So I went and met them. They said, I said, what if we call it, am I autistic? Yeah, that'll be fine. But it's like,
right.
Maybe less people watch it than right we do.
But just that point about it's harder and harder to get people's attention, you would think, therefore, the logical extreme of that is that route of shock titles will be a way of getting people's attention. But actually, that sort of little era died out quite quickly in a way. And now the shows that really command people's attentions, like The Traitors or whatever, are actually quite upmarket shows. That's really true. They're not sort of sort of going down to base instincts or whatever. They're sophisticated, brilliant. So I think I'm sort of still riffing away on has the culture changed for the better or the worse, and thinking probably it's changed mostly for the better. And yet, as you speak about it, and you speak about it with such an infectious enthusiasm, you sort of think, yeah, but we've lost something as well.
I think there is. I think that the amount of mavericks in television, the amount of mavericks both in commissioning and in producing, I think maybe it's just one of those cyclical things. But I think that there are less, as it's become more of a business, I would say for me, I've watched television go like football to a stage where it's highly honed and the money is greater, the wins are greater, and therefore I think that the maverick opportunities are less, But
go back to your 97%, Gill. It's not surprising as it might first seem, I think, because when you're commissioning programmes, there will be, you could say, in a sense, you could quite crudely divide it into three groups. And the only group that's a problem to you is the second group.
Yes.
The first group being things, of course
Also
you're going to
gonna do
commission
it,
it.
yeah.
Andy Harris turns up in my office and says, me and Stephen Daldry and Peter Morgan, they're all there, 2 Oscar winners and Andy Harris. We've got this thing called The Crown. So you don't think, oh, should I commission that? You think, how can I get it?
Yes.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And then there's plenty of stuff where you think...
Why are you
this is
pointing at me?
when you think this is either because it's from people who you know haven't made programs,
Yes.
but they're trying to get in. Well, good luck to them. That's going to be difficult. Or because they're ideas we've seen half a dozen times already,
Yeah.
whatever. They're the immediate no's.
Yeah.
Your job, where you earn your salary,
Yeah.
is on the third group in the middle.
Yeah.
And the same is true of recommissions.
Yeah.
A big hit, you don't have to sit and think, shall I recommission it?
No.
Obviously, you're
Yeah.
going to recommission Downton Abbey, let's say. Something that totally tanks, you probably won't be recommissioned. Although, particularly in some genres like comedy, there's an argument that, and there's plenty of case studies to show, the show that didn't do very well first series, by the fourth series, it's a huge
It's
hit.
the argument I always make when the first series has failed.
Yeah, exactly. You point to the
You gotta
ones
wait.
that came
You gotta
good.
wait
It's good. Let it. Leave
and
it.
but the hard work's around the bit in the middle.
Yeah.
Have you heard
Absolutely.
the expression, when you do a first series
Yeah.
and it does okay,
Yeah.
and it's the most frightening expression I've ever heard, is someone said to me, well, now it's down to broadcaster discretion.
Yes.
I thought, oh my God. So
Yeah.
now they're going to sit in a room and they're going to weigh up and down. Because it's not a definite no, as you
Yeah,
said.
I hate
it's
that.
not a definite yes.
Yeah.
It's in that big grey area.
But broadcaster discretion sounds a bit depressing. But algorithm discretion
Yes.
is more.
Yeah.
There is an argument in the world of the streamers and algorithms and metadata and everything that there's a job to be done to commission first series, and after that, you just let the algorithm tell you.
But I also think now, actually, the ability to know what channels want is so much clearer. And that is
Yes.
brilliant because, oh God, it's now you can hit a target. Now you can go, I think you want that. And I think the broadcaster's reasons for wanting something are crystal clear. So in a way, I feel now more excited because I feel like the relationship with the viewer is far more immediate. So I can,
Yes.
in a funny sort of way, the commissioners are kind of, and all of especially with the algorithm, go, this is exactly what they want.
But when I was on the commissioning side, I obviously you always have to say what you're looking for, and
Yeah.
I always thought, all right, I will reluctantly say what we're looking for, but what we're looking for is a hit,
Something
and what we're
good.
looking for might be the exact opposite of what we think
Yeah.
we're looking for.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'd all agree on this as producers. If all you do is distill what they
Did
say
you
they're
ever
looking
say that at
for,
the Edinburgh Festival?
I
when
did.
the-
I absolutely
Yeah.
did say it. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
No, is it good? I don't care if you want it. Is it good?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to be surprised. I mean, the trouble with, to your point about the Edinburgh Festival is, when you've done a few of those, it's so difficult not to regurgitate cliches
Yeah.
and talking kind of truisms and platitudes. So saying, "Oh, I want to be surprised," in a way, you can see the audience go, "Oh, that old cliche."
Is it
You
some
know,
good-
I don't envy people who have to endlessly, and this is true of all
Yeah.
commissioners and channel controllers, who have to endlessly articulate something because it's part of the job
Sure.
to do so.
Yeah.
When trying to express it in a fresh way becomes ever more difficult.
So what's the worst show you've ever made then?
the worst show I've ever made. Oh,
What,
bloody
worse than
hell.
the ones you mentioned already? Oh,
That's nice.
Peter
She's a guest.
Fincham. Honestly, and some of those made your co-founder expectation terribly wealthy, I'd like
Exactly.
to tell you.
is he terribly wealthy?
He's
Oh, he
terribly
hides it
He's
from
never
you.
mentioned it to me.
No.
Well, I'm going to get my little book out here. And the worst show...
Any shows you look back on and think,
Oh,
What's the, hang
I
on,
tell
Jill,
you.
what's the best show you've ever made?
The
Come
best
on,
show I've
let's
ever
go
made.
positive.
The best show I've ever... Do you know, one of
What
the
are you
best...
most proud of?
I tell you what I'm most proud of.
It's your BAFTA Lifetime
Award,
Achievement
okay.
Award. You need to put a few things on the tape. I know,
Okay,
I know
okay.
what I put on mine. What would you put on yours?
Well, I'm dying to know what you put on yours.
I haven't a clue. I've never given it a moment's thought.
shall I tell you what I put on mine?
Go on.
Oh,
Oh, you see.
I like the way you did that.
Yeah, okay, all right, go on.
I would put on their Great Canal Journeys with
Yes.
Tim and Prue because
Yes.
I commissioned that and we'd gone for lunch. I went to their house with Nick Bullen and we went to their house and Prue was already in quite advanced stages of dementia. And we went and we all had lunch. And she had made us prawn salad. And she did that fantastic thing that older ladies do, which I'll be doing very soon, which is she'd given out everyone prawns and then there was some left. So she counted them round, you know. It's just gorgeous. And she was still obsessed with canals. You know, they were the ambassadors for the Kennet Navan, and just amazing. And I said to Tim, look, you know, you are where you are with Prue. Do you want to make this show? Like, do you want to make it? And he said, well, I would love to. I said, but can we look at your relationship with Prue in relation to her dementia? And he said, can I speak to Sam and the kids? And I said, obviously. Yeah. And he came back and said, yes. And I think it has been one of the most positive portrayals of dementia. And it went for 5 or 6 seasons and no one was ever saying, well, you know, you must do this or you must do it. It was very much about her dealing with them as a family, dealing with her dementia in a way that wasn't trying to pull her back into the present or did it was them
giving you a great insight into the way dementia develops.
And also, it was a love story.
It was a love. They loved each other. Yeah. He was forever crashing that bloody boat, and he don't show the crashes. I was like, the crashes are the best.
Working with me and Jimmy, do you think you see any telltale signs?
Not a one.
My memory isn't what it was. And I'll tell you something else. My memory isn't what it was.
I walked right in. The doors are there. I walked straight through them.
Can I just say, because full disclosure, Gill and I are kind of associated colleagues because Hattrick has a minority interest in Plum Pictures.
That's very right.
And sparing her blushes, I attended a meeting where Stuart and Gill led the pitch, if you like, and they described what their activities are over the next year or two. And I said to Gill at the end, would you come and pitch my show? She's a brilliant pitcher, which, as you know, is really important in our business. But it's and you were saying about the business now being more targeted and more precise, and it was the most targeted, if you like, business plan or creative plan that I've actually ever seen. I thought it was brilliantly done. And so do you think you're going to pull it off? Because all those things in the way, how do you see the next 12 months in the business in terms of the macro in wanting to spend money?
We just sort of metamorphosed into an internal Hattrick meeting, aren't we?
Yeah.
Don't you
if you're lucky, I'll give you a job.
I think we're incredibly kind of lucky in that also, Peter, very sadly, our great co-founder, Will Dawes, passed away.
Yes.
And one of the most brilliant men in television, very suddenly before Christmas. And he understood what I was saying effortlessly. So he was my pitches to him were eminently more successful. He left us a great legacy. And as we know, a lot of television that works is like with Claudia, it's about who you're working with. And I think we're blessed in this generation in that we've got on-screen partners who we work with who are absolutely brilliant. And I think the bringing together of ideas and our, you know, for want of a better word, they all for it talent, becoming more collaborative, Will left us a great foundation of that. And I think a really, you know, Peter, it's always the same, isn't it? It's format, access, cast, and the big one is the T at the bottom, which is talent. And I feel immensely optimistic about the future of television and content in general because of the just fantastic array of talent that we have.
Well, you have got relationships with fantastic on-screen talent, you know, James Mayer, etc., and of course, in terms of Plum itself, as you said, it had a massive shock before Christmas when we lost Will, and I know Stuart. You know, they came to me 18 years ago when they were setting up. I had a meeting with them, but they're both working at the BBC, and I said at the end of the meeting, I don't know where you're going to land, but leave the BBC. I said, you're entrepreneurs. You're not just mavericks. You're entrepreneurs. You need to spread your wings. And RDF at the time had made them a deal, and we made them exactly the same deal. And thank God they came to us because it has been a really great relationship where we're making a drama of one of their documentaries, Last Chance Lawyer. And what I've seen is that, the Will is gone. But I think that what's happened is there are new relationships forming in that business. And that's how the resilience of the independent sector is always, for me, it's like it's mind-boggling sometimes. I mean, how positively you dealt with this, and and looking forward to the future. I think, someone like Will, he'd have reacted in exactly the same way.
My beautiful Will Dawes, who I miss all the time. I miss him all the time because he would generally tell me to, the optimism, Peter. He was. I said if we could go to Sainsbury's with optimism, we'd never go hungry because he was one of the people who we just rode through the kind of the downturn in television in the same ways like Neris Evans is always in your career, eternally optimistic.
Well, last week I was comparing Jimmy as an independent producer to him as an Everton fan. In other words, resilience.
No stranger to pain.
Setbacks, no stranger to things not going as you like. Yeah. You stick at it.
But also, you've got to suspend your disbelief as an Everton fan.
This is where the interview falls apart, where I start.
I realise I've opened a can of worms there.
You didn't.
Well, listen, Gill, it's been fantastic.
Brilliant.
Having you on.
Oh, but I knew it would be.
And Jimmy knew it would be. Of course he did.
I knew it would be. I'd have commissioned it immediately.
I was very sceptical. Should we have Gill Wilson on? What we did, and it's been absolutely
Thank you, Gill.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm thrilled and honoured.
That's all for this week. Thanks very much for listening. Any questions about the world of television that you've always wanted to ask, send them our way. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, you can contact us through our emails, on our socials. It's all in the description.
Even better, why not subscribe to our YouTube channel?
In fact, please, if you've enjoyed the show, tell your friends and get Insiders, the TV podcast, wherever you enjoy your podcasts.
Thanks for listening.